So I feel like that's a hard one for me sometimes. I often tell people I don't have a very interesting story per se. When I was younger, I think cooking was the only thing I could see myself really gravitating towards, and making a career out of it, and something I could stay passionate with day after day. So I kind of just followed, I guess, my gut instinct on that. My first job was Whataburger, which is just like a fast food chain in the South. So kind of cooking, but not really. I ended up getting into a country club in the area, which was good. I learned like basics, like kitchen knowledge, stuff like that. And then got into a hotel, and just kind of progressed from there. So, I've worked at a lot of really, really nice private clubs, a lot of nice clubs in the Dallas area. And then, of course, the Cowboys, which has always been a dream of mine. So to see that kind of come to fruition has been really special.
Awesome. So can we talk about when you were in high school and you started taking culinary classes? What was going through your mind? How did you even get into these classes?
So in the school district I was in, you can start culinary your junior year. So it's like an intro to culinary class. So I took that, and then they have a senior class that you can take, which is a lot more like showcasing your skills and putting on events and that sort of thing. So I mean, it was I guess double reason for me. So it was one, like, I loved culinary. I was just eager to learn whatever I could because I had no knowledge of anything. And two, I just thought it was, we had like an offsite campus. So it was really fun to be able to go offsite, and, explore if that was something I loved or not. I think where I went to high school, we're very fortunate to be able to provide that for students. I think it's a great tool to have. You can kind of figure it out before you kind of get into the real world, and you're maybe stuck somewhere. So I think my biggest thing with that is I just wanted to learn. So when I started those classes, I had no knowledge of any cooking, any skills, any technique, nothing.
And then from there, where did you decide to go afterwards to keep that going?
So I think I've always tried to have the mindset of each day can be a learning opportunity. And I think no matter where you are, you can learn something. So I think I try to focus hard on that, but also focus on progressing to bigger and better things, making sure I'm kind of taking the next step and getting to a new property that can help propel me forward, and show me something I didn't know before. Maybe get gain knowledge from a chef that works completely different than my last one. I think perspective is everything, and I don't think there's any right way to do anything. Everyone has their own way of succeeding. So I think it's just always been important for me to be able to get as many perspectives as I can, and learn from others in that regard.
And then moving forward to Hell's Kitchen, what inspired you to even start the tryout process, which we have had discussions about this before with Chef Mark and Chef Maria Short about this process on another roundtable. And I highly encourage people, if you haven't seen that, to go and watch it, because it's actually a pretty grueling process to get on. It's a long process. There are a lot of tests, we'll say, that we learned that we had to go through. So I would just love to hear your perspective on what it was like to even think about, I want to try out for this, to actually getting on, because you actually made it all the way up to runner up.
Totally. So this was a very interesting process. A server of mine at the time happened to be roommates with a casting director, and that's kind of how I got connected. I grew up watching the show, so it's always been in the back of my head, like that would be really cool to be able to do and meet Gordon Ramsay and do that, you know. It's a one of a kind experience. So when it came up, I felt like I had to go for it, at least, you know, go through the testing process of it all. And then, like you said, that was a long process. You know, there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff. A lot of people don't realize, but I think ultimately health and safety is top priority for everyone. So you kind of have to go through that process. And then, uh, you know, getting there is just a whole other beast. Once you go through that, I think I was kind of, I guess reality hadn't really set in. I knew what I was doing and going through the steps of, but I felt like, you know, this could still turn out to not be it, or maybe someone, this isn't actually the show or something, you know, you have all those silly thoughts in the back of your head. But, you know, once I got to Vegas, I think it finally hit me. And then our first day of filming, and I was like, holy crap, like this is real. This is actually Gordon Ramsay. I actually put myself in this. I don't know what I'm going to do. I was extremely nervous. I had never been in that type of environment before, but I think I'm really glad I did it.
What's he like in real life?
Uh, I always tell people he's like any other dad. He's very, very intense in the kitchen and when you're working. And you know, he expects you to strive for greatness, as he should. But you know, when you're kind of off of that, he's very kind, very generous. He's very goofy. I think one of the favorite memories I have with him is we were towards the end of filming our season, and there was like 4 or 5 of us just in a hallway, just having a casual conversation. And it seems so mundane, but I thought that was just so cool. I had an opportunity to have a normal conversation with someone at that caliber, you know?
I love that. Okay, so what was life like? Because I think also this discussion we broke down before too is that coming out of that experience is also a process as well. So what was your process like to come out of it and to like get back into, we'll call it the real world, and what was life
Yeah.
like afterwards?
Um, you know, it was a lot harder than I expected it to be. A lot of people told us ahead of time that once we're in it and kind of transition out of that mindset, it's really hard to get back to, like you said, the real world. I didn't believe them. I thought it was just easy to come back and go to work, and that was that. But I think um, when you're in an environment like that, you're around almost everyone there is for the same goal. They want it just as bad as you. They're just as dedicated. But when you kind of come back to the real world, you realize that that's not the case. There's a lot of people that are in this industry because they love it, but there's also a lot of people that are in this industry because they fell into it when they were young and it's all they know, or they're comfortable. They don't really want to do anything else. And you know, that's just as valid. But I think that was a really hard thing for me to accept, that not everyone has the same passion and drive, and not everyone stays up all night talking menus with each other. And bouncing ideas off of each other. That was hard for me to digest. But also just coming back to a normal routine, not being on camera all the time, and being responsible for more than myself. That was kind of hard to transition back to also, just because while you're there, you're on your own. But when you come back, you're responsible for a team and the success of a team and all the good stuff. So it definitely hits you harder than you expect it to. And it is kind of hard to get out of that mindset. I think probably took me like 6 or 8 months to kind of feel like normal again, if that makes sense.
It definitely does. So I have a question here from Chef Paul for you. He said, is it true that there's a secret chat for Black Jackets only?
If there is, I'm not aware of it. I did not get the invite.
Got it. Okay. So how do you feel that being on this show, how do you feel it's helped you in your culinary career, if at all?
Totally. I think that can be hard too, because I think in a lot of ways it's helped me kind of get my name out there and get recognized more in the area and such. I think I don't know that I would have got the job with the Cowboys without that, quite honestly. But I think also it's hard because not everyone in this industry sees that as an accomplishment. A lot of people see it as just like some bogus reality TV show, which, I can see their perspective on that. However, it is extremely real when you live that day in and day out, and that's all you know for weeks. So I think that, but also I think it really helped me kind of figure out what my values are as a chef, and really understand what I want to do and who I want to be, and who I want to be for a team, and how to lead a team, and what exactly that means. You have to show up for people every day, even if you're having a bad day. And I think that's a valuable lesson I learned while I was there.
Amazing. Okay, so let's talk about, so while we're talking about opportunities here, I would love to know, and we also have a lot of curiosity of how did the opportunity of working with the Dallas Cowboys come to you?
So I also got very, very fortunate in this situation. I networked with a gentleman on LinkedIn, who was recruiting me for a different position at a different property. But after we spoke, he said, I think your experience is much better for this type of environment, and kind of pushed me off to the Cowboys. And then I just kind of had a series of interviews through there, and of course a tasting and all the good stuff. But I think I was very fortunate that he reached out to me. However, I think you really have to sell yourself and be confident, and stand in who you are and what you believe in. And I think with that opportunity, I really tried hard to do that, because sometimes that's challenging for me, as is anyone. But that was I think a kind of changing moment in my mindset of, I need to present myself for what it is.
And then what is a day in the life of Megan like? I would just love to know, specifically on game day, what does a game day look like for you?
Very hectic. So, at home I have my normal routine. I wake up, walk the dogs. I try to eat something before I go. And then, depending on what the schedule is, either opening or closing that day, we do huge, we call them feasts instead of buffets, but it's essentially a buffet. But we do massive feasts with any food you could imagine. A lot of the food we do is themed around not just the Cowboys in Texas, but who they're playing that week, which is really fun. It's really fun to brainstorm with the rest of the team week to week on how we can kind of push the envelope further, make stuff better, and how we can relate that back to football, but also let the food shine.
So Athar has a question and he wants to know, is there a signature dish for the Dallas Cowboys? Or is there something unique that is often requested?
Oof. I think, it's probably an easy answer, but I think steak is the big one there. We do steak really, really well. And we're fortunate enough to have a lot of really great purveyors that provide us with the best quality meat we can possibly get. So we try to focus heavy on that and kind of tie that into it being Texas, and we are the steak state, and tie that all together through food per se.
And Jennifer wants to know, what is it like working at a country club versus a private club?
Ooh, good question. It's a lot of similarity. However, it is very different. I think country clubs are a lot of more families, and you have a lot more women with like tennis clubs and golf. It's a lot more, I guess, outdoorsy and family oriented. I think a private club, depending on where you are, but the Cowboys specifically, it's a lot more high end, geared towards, we cater to families too, but it's a lot more like couples or singles. It's a lot more people looking at like to go hang out all day somewhere, just get good food. The location is in a really great spot, so it's easy to kind of pop in and out. You can go shopping, you can come back. So it's similar in a lot of ways. I think just the clientele can be a little different.
Okay. She said thank you.
You're
And so hi to everyone that is watching in the Facebook group. We have quite a few that are watching from there, and they all said hi to you, Chef Megan.
Hello.
The Instagram, if you want to follow where she's at, it's the Star Lounge, right? So you can look up.
It's Cowboys Club.
Cowboys Club.
Yes, ma'am.
So if you want to look it up on Instagram, that's the page for it. Okay, Mark says, as part of the media team at ChefWorks, I'd like to know what type of culinary content you tend to watch and what type of stories or videos would you love to see more of?
Ooh, great question. I think so I'm kind of a nerd. I'm really into food history. So I watch a lot of like history content, but I think also I get really interested in techniques, but also just different cultures. I think I try to I think there's a lot to learn from plenty of content creators now, but especially worldwide. I think through food, you can really learn someone's culture and their values and how they come together. And I think that's really special. So I also watch a lot of just world cuisine. I like learning stuff I don't know about. I think especially in the kitchen, there's always something you can learn. No one knows everything. So lots of history videos, lots of technique, and lots of world cuisine.
Okay, so I have people that are asking for the link. This is the link to the Instagram page. I will also drop it in the chat on Facebook. Okay, Emily would like to know, I'd love to know the favorite kitchen system innovation tool that you use most in your kitchen or in your planning. Let me copy.
What tool do I use? It might sound corny, but I think my brain. I think staying organized and staying ahead is the most important thing. So I think kind of taking time to think through things and kind of collect your thoughts and plan out your day, your week, your month, and set your goals accordingly is more important than anything. I think it's very hard to work towards something if you don't have a set plan to get there. So I that would be my best tool, is just kind of brainstorming and making sure I'm prepared in that way.
Okay, I have a couple of comments from Facebook. So Chef Megan, if you don't know Chef Randy White, I need to get the both of you introduced. He's an ambassador as well, and he's in the Dallas area. And he said, great discussion. I'm here local in the North Dallas area, so it's been fun to follow along. And Kevin Mitchell said, the food that built America, which I believe came on the History Channel, is really a great show if you guys haven't seen it yet.
I love that show.
Matt Myers said hello. Okay, I want to shift gears a little bit here. This month over on our YouTube channel, we have put out a series called Rise Women in Culinary. And there are, of course, what we want to do in community is see ourselves in each other. So there are a lot of themes that came out in these videos that I would like to discuss with Chef Megan, because community is about bringing us together and problem solving together. So to honor Women's History Month, we want to talk about what is it like to really be a woman in an industry that is male dominated. And we have these videos pinned to the top of our group under the featured post. So please feel free to go and watch these videos. And if you guys don't follow us on YouTube, we just put in ChefWorks into the search engine on YouTube and we'll pop up. But we are at ChefWorks Connect. So first we had Chef Amanda Palomino. And something that she said to me that stuck out was that the kitchen, how does the kitchen serve her? And she said that the kitchen is a place where she can gather her thoughts and really let her creativity flow. She said she feels free in there. So I would like to know from you, Chef Megan, how does the kitchen serve you?
Totally. I think I have to agree with her. I often tell people the kitchen is my therapy or my happy place. And I truly believe that. I think it's kind of my safe space because I can just go in and kind of create and feel free in that way. But I think it helps me kind of recharge, and if there's a day I'm feeling low or worn out, even if it's from work, I think work in the kitchen always finds a way of re-energizing me. Just the passion and the food, and being able to kind of let my thoughts run wild and figure things out as we go. I think that's one of my most favorite parts. But I think also it's very important to have a solid team, and a team that will support you and help energize you. I think I'm very fortunate now to have that. So the kitchen and my team serves me in that way. They kind of help me bring me back up, and just, you know, make me passionate all over again about why I fell in love with this industry.
Love it. Okay, so we also spoke to Chef Christina Ing, and we were talking about what she had to overcome being a woman in the kitchen. And what she said was that she had to raise her confidence being in a kitchen that was dominated by men. So I pose that same question to you of what have you had to overcome from being in the kitchen? And also, like, you have a lot to draw from. Is you have your experience in Hell's Kitchen that I'm sure there's a lot you had to overcome, all the way up to where you are today.
Totally. I think, first and foremost, I think I had to realize I had to stop comparing myself and my journey to others. Because, you know, there's a saying that comparison is the thief of joy. And I truly believe that. I think early in my career, I've almost always worked with all men just because of the industry we're in. And, you know, you hear a lot of like, well, when I was your age, I did this, I already did this, you're way behind the ball, you know. So I think, first and foremost, I had to kind of realize that I'm not them. And I need to focus on myself and what's best for me. And I'll get to where I want to be regardless of someone else's journey. And then I think also, um, you know, gaining that confidence and understanding that, you know, I know how to do my job and do it well, even if, someone, you know, doesn't feel that way or, um, says otherwise because of any reason. I think, you know, there's a huge, or at least there was a huge learning curve for me, for, you know, kind of understanding I have to really stick up for myself and stand on all 10 toes, and, you know, do what I do best, which is cook, and just let my work speak for itself. I've spent a large part of my career kind of, wondering, if everyone was like this, or, you know, like if it's this hard for everyone. And I think as I've gotten older, I've realized that a lot of women, especially in this industry, share the same experience, and you're not alone in it. And I think it really helps to, be open and honest about it, and, you know, talk about your feelings. I think that's something I've learned as I've gotten older too, is, if someone I feel is trying to be disrespectful to me or put me down for any reason, but especially just I'm a young woman, I kind of have learned you just have to stand up for yourself, and it is what it is. Not everyone's going to like you. And a lot of people are going to not like you just because you're yourself. So there's a large learning curve in that, but, I think it definitely gets easier as you get older. Um, yeah,
Yeah, being assertive and confident in yourself, right?
totally.
Yeah. So we also interviewed Chef Laura Warren, and she brought up a great point of, when do you feel like you actually get to call yourself a chef? So reflecting back on your journey, when do you feel like, what was the first time when you were like, this is it, I'm a chef?
Um, Honestly, it was probably on the show when we filmed the finale. I kind of had a moment on our last day of like, holy crap, I'm like, this is my menu. I'm leading a team. And I know how to do it. Which is something I really didn't expect going into that situation. But I think when I got really confident with it was, when I went to the Cowboys. And I think I think it's different for everyone. And I think sometimes it still feels awkward for me because I feel like I don't know enough or as much as I should. But I think um, being a chef doesn't always mean you have to know everything. It's just, you are knowledgeable, but you're also leading a team, you have a vision, um, and, you're moving forward. I think that's the biggest thing. So I think really not until the last couple years did I feel comfortable with that title. Um, and again, it's different for everyone. Everyone has a different experience. So.
And so just what are some challenges and adversities that you have faced over your culinary career with being a female chef? And then how did that outcome shape who you are now as a chef?
Um, so I've had a lot of people just not like me because I'm a young woman. I had a lot of older men try to sabotage my work earlier in my career. Um, I caught a few of them sometimes, like turning up my stove or turning off my oven, stuff like that. But I think also there's a mental component to it all. It can be really hard when you come in and you're the only woman on a team and everyone's being so cold to you day after day. Um, so, that can be really hard, especially when you're a teenager and you don't really know yourself that well. I think again, just that can come with age, but also experience. Is just understanding that because someone's ugly to you doesn't always mean it's because of you. I think a lot of the time people like that are very unhappy with themselves. They're very insecure in their role, and they try to take you to their level. And I think I've realized you just kind of have to rise above it. And my dad says a lot, you have to kill people with kindness. And I think that's a big takeaway from me is regardless of how challenging or ugly someone is to me, I just kill them with kindness. And, it normally ends up working itself out. And if it doesn't, then we address it as needed.
Love it. So I want to do one more last call in the comments. And also, if you're watching on Facebook, if you have anything that you want to ask, go ahead and put it in now, and we'll get those lined up for her. And here they come. Okay, so we'll kind of move into like a Q&A format after this, and then but first, what I would like to say is we work a lot with CCAP, and these are young, like what you were saying earlier about having these like measurements, let's say, or like being put up against someone else's measurements. And then when you plant that in a young mind, just how that could stunt your growth, or it could stop you before you even start. For the young
all right,
women,
well, I'll figure it out.
The young women that are currently in these programs and are about to make their entry into this field, what advice do you have for them that can help them to get over the challenges that they're ultimately going to end up facing?
Totally. I think you have to go into it accepting that it's gonna be really hard. There's going to be days that you really question how bad you want it, and if it's worth it, and if everyone in every industry is like that. But I think ultimately it's just most important to hold your head high, understand who you are, and kind of tunnel vision in that regard. You have to focus on the vision of what you want yourself to be, not what someone wants you to be, and kind of grow into that role yourself. It's again, you can't compare yourself to other people. It's not fair to you, and it'll really take you out. So I think most important thing is tunnel vision and grow into the vision of yourself you want.
Agreed. And then also the confidence piece. So I'm going to borrow back from what you said earlier about being confident and then being assertive. That's all part of the recipe here.
Exactly.
Okay. Are you ready for a little rapid fire?
Totally. Let's do it.
Okay. So let's start with a comment from Chef Kevin. He said that you have the coolest job and he's a big Cowboys fan. Also, Portia is a big Cowboys fan and she's here on the call. She's a big fan during football season. It's like everybody against Portia and she's like over there. Okay, so Jessica Lewis, who is your chef inspiration or your role model?
Oh, that's a tough question for me. I think I have a lot. I think it's really hard to choose one specific chef because there's so many talented people over the course of history, and that have really contributed to this industry and what I'm able to do in this industry now. I think, obviously Gordon Ramsay has always been a role model in my lifetime. I grew up with him. I also grew up watching Emeril Lagasse. I used to sneak out of my room past my bedtime and watch it with my dad at night. But I think also there's a woman who kind of is credited for the creation of gumbo and Nola cuisine, Lena Richards. I think I look to her for strength a lot in this industry just because of the adversity she's had to face and how she overcame it, and she thrived. She had a TV show, she has a cookbook. She's a remarkable woman. Her story is amazing. But I think those three are kind of the top ones that come to mind. But again, there's so many other talented people that you can take so many things from. It's just so hard to pick one specific person.
And Barton Gill, I'm not sure if you know him. He said, he said, Papa G says hello.
Hello.
He also said, I'm proud of you. Megan is one of 2 women in the world I would not want to meet in a dark alley. She's the tough woman. Love it.
He's a goofball.
Love it. Okay. Alexandria, she says, absolutely love Megan from HK22. All right. I think we got everybody from Facebook. Louie would like to know, what socials do you use to follow other chefs?
So I try to only stick to my Instagram chef account to follow other chefs. That's kind of my designated go-to food spot. I don't think I'm cool enough to understand TikTok, though I try. I just haven't been able to get into it yet. But there's a lot of really great content creators and chefs on Instagram. So that's kind of my go-to.
Athar would like to know, when did you realize you made it as a chef?
Man, that's a tough question. You know what, to be completely honest, I still don't feel like I've made it. I think I'm on my way. But I think my ultimate goal has always been to have my own restaurant. And I kind of just see myself getting there as a stepping stone. So I don't know that I'll ever feel like that, quite honestly. I feel like again, there's always so much more to learn and grow into. And I'm so young in my career still. There's so much more I don't know. So still getting there.
And Jennifer wanted to know if you ever had any female chefs sabotage you in the kitchen. And if so, how did you react?
I don't think I have, quite honestly, but I haven't been around a lot of women chefs. I think I've only worked with a handful over my entire career. And I think we all were kind of like-minded in the fact that like women really have to stick together, especially in this industry. And it's not worth it to turn on each other.
Yeah, and then I think there's a couple of people that are asking what I think is, how do you stay motivated? Like, how do you stay creative in order to fight complacency?
Great question. That can be really hard. I think I've kind of had to really learn to recognize when I'm kind of on the downslope and I'm feeling a little low. And it's important for me. Again, everyone's different, but it's kind of important for me to kind of take a step back, maybe take a day and kind of recharge. I try to find or do things that kind of bring me happiness and joy. So if I have a day off, I'll just spend it with my dogs, or, go to a local market. Something I'm really passionate about is farm to table. So the farmers market is like my heaven, and I just love going around, seeing everyone's products and food and the stuff they work so hard to provide. But also, I love talking to the farmers and hearing their stories and everything they had to go through to get this on the table. And to people like myself, that's very inspirational for me. And that kind of helps me recharge and stay motivated and kind of spark my curiosity and how I can make those things work together and put them on a plate.
Kelly Scott wants to know, did you want to pass out when holding the handle to open the door in the finale?
Yes. That was a very high anxiety situation. Definitely wanted to pass out. I thought I was going to throw up. I kept saying things to Trent, and he was just like, calm down. But definitely nerve-wracking.
Yeah, I remember when we were talking to Chef Mark about when he was eliminated and that he went into the van to go like away from the set, that they actually had a psychologist inside the van, which just like how you said earlier, that there's a lot that you don't know that happens behind the scenes. Like there really is a lot. And I don't think I have a much deeper appreciation for the psychological aspect of it, which I think actually from my viewpoint, it seemed like it was more of a psychological thing than it actually was skill and cooking.
Absolutely. I agree with that. Very, very challenging. Everyone's completely out of their element. They're in a different situation than you've ever been in. And it's such a more high stress situation than most of us had been in. It's definitely psychological for sure.
Okay, so we do have a couple. What are your guilty pleasure foods?
Ooh, honestly, goldfish crackers. I have loved
Underrated.
those. Thank you. And then like just buttered noodles with Parmesan. Those
Also
are probably,
underrated.
yes, my two big ones for sure. My friends still make fun of me all the time My dad kind of makes fun of me sometimes too. But both are definitely underrated, but delicious.
I went to a beer tasting one time that was all of the beers were paired with goldfish. And
That's cool.
yeah, it was so good.
That's
Never
amazing.
saw it coming.
I've never heard of.
Okay, Jennifer says farmers market popcorn is the best. I have to agree with that.
Yes, agreed.
Let's see. Okay, I think that we have covered all of these. Is there anything that you would like to see? Let's ask this. What type of stories or videos would you love to see more of when it comes to culinary? This is from Mark from our media team, so that's where that's coming from.
No, that's a great question. I think kind of the reality of a kitchen. I think kitchens and culinary and being a chef is glamorized a lot, especially with how much media and shows there are now. But I think it's also important to see kind of the reality of it, and the transparency of it all, and how exhausting and hard it can be. And I'm sure there's accounts and people that document their story that way. I just have not found them, but I would love to see a lot more chefs and culinarians alike kind of film the transparency of it all, and how mentally draining it can be.
Yes. So I also put that on Facebook under the live because we would actually like to know from everybody what types of content would you like to see.
Totally.
Let's see. I think what's your motto for living, Chef Dante?
For
Your
living.
motto.
Oh, I think just be patient with myself. Again, had to kind of take a step back and recognize that I don't know everything and I never will. And, you know, taking things slow and developing is not a bad thing. And, just being patient with my growth in that regard, in my career. And just focus on the vision. Like I said, you got to focus on your own vision.
Okay, let's do one more question here from Louis. So we're really big on mentorship in 1807. So do you have a mentor, or are you a mentor to anyone?
So I think I've been very fortunate throughout my career. I've had quite a few mentors. A lot of the chefs I've worked with have been very generous, and have really wanted to propel my career forward. But I think one chef in particular, Mario Reyes, has been an outstanding person and tool for me. He's very supportive, and is just so patient with me. I did an event with him 2 years ago now in New York. And it was his event. He was just willing to bring me on. But he's just that person in my career for me, who's very selfless, really wanting to get me to where I want to be. And he's always willing to help in any way I need him. So he's been awesome.
So we did have one more from Chef Kelston. What can us other chefs do to highlight more women in the industry? Which also, I think this is a great way for us to talk about the future, because I definitely wanted to end on a note of what are we doing, because we as Table 1807 are here to help facilitate this change. What do you want to see changed in the industry? And then how are we going to get there? You don't have to
Oh,
answer that, but like, as a collective, that's what we want to do, is we want to problem solve and say, like, if this is an issue, then how do we come together with our resources and our people to help change it? So the question again was, what can us other chefs do to highlight more women in the industry?
that's a great question. I think it's very important to be honest, but also uplift each other. And I think, again, women kind of have to stick together, but that doesn't mean we have to leave men out of the equation also. But I think it's important to have open conversations and, um, you know, disclose things as they come up, but also make sure we're teaching one another, we're spending time with each other. I think that's something I try hard to do with my team, especially the young ones that want it really bad. Kind of really try hard to spend some time with them, teach them things they don't know, and kind of understand where they want to go in their career so I can help them move forward in whichever way I can. I hope I can be that person for one or many people over my career, just the same as people have done for me. So I think it's just important to, again, be honest with each other. And honesty doesn't mean always being nice. It's also important to call each other out when you crossed a boundary or someone did something wrong or they messed a steak up or something. It's important to hold each other accountable, but uplift each other at the same time.
Amazing. Okay. Can you tell us, where can we find you online if we want to follow you and your journey?
Totally. So I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I use Instagram probably the most. All my handles are Chef Megan Gill. Super easy.
And what's next for you? Do you have anything, any big goal or any big vision that's on the horizon for you?
So, within the next couple of years, I really want to have my own place. And I would love to see that grow into 3 different places. I think I have 3 different concepts kind of floating in my head. But I would love to kind of see that come to fruition in my hometown. I think that would be something really special. So I hope that's the next big thing to come.
Love it. Well, I want to say thank you for joining us today and sharing your story with us, and helping us to really understand what it's like from a woman's perspective in the
Totally.
kitchen. And with that, I'd like to say thank you to everyone who attended today, who's here with us on Zoom and also with us on Facebook. If you're already not a member of Table 1807, I am going to put a link here for those who are on Zoom. This is our Facebook group, and you can click on there and join. And then also, if you want to find us on YouTube to check out the videos that I referenced in this chat, you can click there and subscribe to our channel, and we'll have all 3 of those there at the top for you. So thank you, Megan, for being here today. Thank you, everybody. This has been a great chat. We always love doing this.
Totally. Thank you for having me. It's been great.